What is up, guys? It is your boy Royal Mac. I know it's been a minute, but things at home have been kind of wonky, and I've been working in my workshop on getting my Jesmon deck good to go. So this is one of the main decks I was really excited for in the BT-10 format. Jesmon, along with Wargray, are my two main partners of choice. So I was really happy to get this deck back and running. So let's go through this deck. I'll explain some of my reasoning for what I'm doing. Some of it will be straightforward, but you'll know when it gets there. So first up, we play 4 Gurimon. This is the best deck for this deck, since everything from champ up is going to hit for 6,000 power or more. So you are going to be able to get his inheritable, which is the draw. And that is a wonderful thing to have, especially in a deck that needs pieces, and you need exact pieces at the right time. On to the rookies. We are going to start off with the man, the myth, the legend himself. 4 copies of the Searcher Huckmon. This is one of the best cards in the game. Even if the deck was not the best deck for a while. You get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck. And from those top 5, you get to choose up to 2 with either Huckmon, Royal Knight, or Sister in their name or trait. This alone is hit 2 for 5. You will always hit something, especially now. The level of Sisters and Royal Knights and Hucks in this deck is just dumb. Next up, we will only be playing 3 copies of the Huckmon with the inheritable of Searching for Sisters on swing, solely because once you get one of these on once one of these is in tower and that tower has been able to swing a bit, you really don't need another one to do it. Sisters are important, but you also have pieces you would rather not see drop to the bottom of the deck regularly like that. So we only play 3. But this also makes space for one other Huckmon. And that is, we're going to play the 1 copy of the starter deck Huckmon. He does have the ability during my turn, when a Sistermon is played, gain a memory, which is actually pretty nice to have, especially when you have the memory to flex it. But then it also has the inheritable. While this Digimon has Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its trait, gain 1,000 DP. So this helps just slightly push over that threshold, so you can hit those bigger numbers when your tower is not as strong. But no complaints. I've actually been able to have this on board when I have went through the full Jesmon turn, and it's been really nice to have that extra memory to sit with. Last but not least, because we are running in a Digicross format, we run 3 copies of Solarmon. It has the ability, all players cannot reduce play cost. So for all those Digicross decks, this pretty much freezes them out. It does hurt us as well, so if you are playing this in Jess, you need to hurry up, do what your reduction is before this hits board, or just take the hit, which is not that big of a deal anymore since we do have Blitz. Now, on to the champs. We only run 8. First, we run 4 of the new starter deck Balhuck. He does have the ability, just like the Jesmon, for all turns, when it's a Huck or a Royal Knight, gain 1,000 DP. Honestly, it's just this is staple. It's a Balhuck. It's searchable. It's your secondary option for your champion, because there's only one boy you'd really want to see as that first level 4 ride, and that is going to be the original Balhuck, who has the inheritable on attack. If you have a Sistermon on the board, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less. This alone changes games really fast, especially against decks where they can spam low-cost blockers. This just is Mad Lad, and in a mirror match, this card is also really nutty, especially if they were not able to perfect the entire board. Now we're going to go into the ultimates of the deck, our beautiful level 5s. We're going to play 4 copies of Savior. This is the new one from the starter deck. It has the, when Digivolving, this Digimon can attack unsuspended. This is part of the reason this deck no longer has to run Judgment of the Blade, even though we did get a beautiful alternate art. But we don't have to play it anymore because we can do it on this Digivolution. And it digivolves for 3, so it's not expensive. As well as you can still do it in the back row, even if you don't get the evolution effect. It has an amazing inheritable. It has the ability, when on attack, you may play a Sistermon from your hand or drop. That inheritable is very important, and you will see why when we get over to the level 6s. And then last card in our level 5s is one copy of the man himself, the original Savior Hug. This has the Digivolution effect. On Digivolution, you are able to play a sister from hand. This is really good with the original seal, the go-to play. But it does have the inheritable on it. When attacking, this may once per turn unsuspend if you have a Sistermon on the board. This is part of the reason it got hit. Honestly, hitting it sounds fair. Had this been closer in time, had this deck been closer in time, makes sense for the ban, but it took way too long for the gap. And we played best of 3, so this was not as destructive as people want to make it sound like. All right, now before we go into the 6s, we're going to talk about our sisters. I love my sisters. So first up, we're playing 2 of the original Sister Mont Blanc. She has on play, draw a card. Then the ability, if you have a Royal Knight or any form of Huckmon on board, all your sisters gain blocker. Enough said. Don't really gotta explain why with those effects. Then we also play, or as our last Blanc, we play 2 copies of the new Blanc from the starter deck. She has the on play effect. Discard a card from hand, draw 2 cards. Then she has the effect during all turns, decoy red-black if you have a Royal Knight or a Digimon with Huckmon in the name. Why is this important? This helps us get around option cards on destruction and the security. This also makes it so we don't have to play delicate plans. This is a really good card in general to help filter through the deck, since we can pull from the drop through stuff like Savior, and it's just nuts. Now on to the seals, which I wish we still got Noirs, but we'll let that slide. First up, we play 2 copies of the original seal. She is amazing. We love her. On play, gain a memory. And then during all turns, your Royal Knights and your Huckmons gain 2000 DP. If you play this on board, your board's gotten stronger, especially the Hucks. So you can hit over more, as well as you get to save a memory during all your wombo combo shenanigans. Then we play 1 copy of the Sistermon seal from the starter deck with the effect of, on play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add a Huckmon, Royal Knight, or Sister from among them to your hand, trash the rest. This is once again another card just to help you get to your pieces faster. But it also has the inheritable during, it has the all turns effect where you have a Royal Knight or a Huckmon on board. Reboot. This is kind of needed for the deck as well. You don't get it a lot because it is a one of, but it still has its effect. But how this deck works, the one of is perfectly fine where it is. And then last but not least, we played 3 of the new seal that came from the BT-10 set. It has the on play effect. When played, you may digivolve into a Royal Knight or a Jesmon or a Huckmon. So this card alone is kind of nutty because it helps your combo go nuts into later cards up your line, as well as it has the other effect of when your Digimon digivolves, gain a memory. So this definitely helps cheapen your inboard turns. Her along with 2 other pieces of 2 other sisters, you kind of make a locked board per se for a turn, but that has been more explained over and over in multiple other deck lists of other YouTubers. They are amazing. I have to take some of their tips for this build, not all. Next, we are going into our 6s now. First off, we play 3 copies of the new starter deck, Jesmon. This boy is, in terms of ability, I would say is definitely better than the original Jess, solely because he lets us go off a turn to 2 turns faster, depending. Because this guy has Blitz, along with the factor of when you play a sister, you gain 3,000 DP and security +1. So now we have a way of pressure without having to rely on a tamer. So I like it. It also allows you to play a sister from hand, but you honestly aren't caring about that because he himself is not going to be on the board really long enough to care. But that's because of the combo. So, on to the rest of our 6s. We do only run 2 copies of Jesmon X Antibody. He has the on evolution effect. Play a sister from your hand or drop. And if you have a sister in play or Jesmon in the evolution sources, your entire board until the end of your opponent's turn gains 2,000 DP and can attack unsuspendeds. So once again, we have another way to attack unsuspendeds. This also has piercing. So a lot of people I know are like, but how are we supposed to hit damage if we can't hit their Digimon? Here's one of those answers. So we can get that out the way and it'd be all good to go. And then last but not least, the Master finally decided to grace our presence over in the red side. So we're going to be playing 2 copies of Genkumon X. Love this alt art. He has blocker, but he also has the ability when digivolving, if you have a sister in play or Genkumon in the evolution sources, you can play a sistermon from hand or drop zone, and when you do, your entire board once again gains 2,000 DP, but this time your Digimon cannot be bounced to your hand or tucked under into your deck. This guy alone makes this deck so strong, and along with Jesmon X, this literally makes it your board is almost indestructible, give or take like 2 cards. Honestly 3, but it gets really hard to clear the board. So now we'll go into the 7s, and we'll start off with the menace to society of this deck, Jesmon GX. He has the ability on Digivolution. You may put a Royal Knight from your drop zone to the bottom evolution source, and then activate that Digimon's Digivolution ability. This is why this deck has some nutty, almost impenetrable deck turn, because if everything goes right, you should have Jesmon X and Jesmon GX have, well, Jesmon X should have went off before this, and GX then allows you to just clone Ganku X. And cloning Ganku is not a nice thing to have on your opponent. That's virtually a plus 4k to your entire board for 2 turns. And I love it. He also has the ability of Blitz. But it's okay, you're not going to worry about the Blitz because you're probably doing this in mid-turn of your Blitz swing anyway. And then he has the ability of Piercing and Blocker, and he gains 1 security for each Royal Knight in the evolution source. If done right, you should be swinging for exactly 5. Trust me, that happens a lot more often than people want to give it credit for. You can play this down to 1. I feel 2 though is the perfect number. More than 2, you're doing a little too much. But you also don't want to just watch it always hit security. So that's why I play it at 2. But like I said, this can go down to 1. You can replace this into another rookie, another card in the ultimate slot. Even you can probably switch one out for a Chimera. Noticing I don't play Chimeras, but that's kind of a thing for me. I've tested with Chimeras. It bricks too hard. It bricks kind of hard early. So I just said no and just go as purist as possible with only Sisters, Hux, and Genkus. Then our last 7 of the game for the deck is Death X. We all play this card. We all know why we play this card. There are no other questions and answers needed. But he is a good board control, especially in mirror matches, as well as against decks that like to only spam 1 tower and call it a day. Like Jesmon, this does help, especially once their opponent has hit all those sisters, because they can have a board about 5 or 6 Digimon deep, and that pretty much just makes this free. Now, if there's a Solarmon on board, that's a whole different monster, but this usually just makes the card play for free, and we have no worries. Now on into my options. I do play 3 copies from Master to Disciple. Honestly, I wanted to play this at 4, but after playtesting with it, 4 is a little excessive. Especially with how it works, because it has the main effect of, on play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose a Huckmon, Sistermon, or Royal Knight from among them, add it to your hand, trash the rest, and then it gains the delay effect. Its delay effect is you can trash this to reduce evolution cost of a Royal Knight or Jesmon or anything with Huck or Royal Knight in its evolution cost down 1. So virtually this makes playing on your turn, you can play a Savior for 2 and then blitz into Jesmon and have all your fun and just be starting on your turn 2, turn 3 phrase with this card. This is also a really good turn 1 card to play when you have nothing else. This actually saved me from being completely brick and great stuck. Sorry, been stuck for rookies. I also play Vanguard, as you guys know, so I get my terminology stuck when they compare evenly. Next up, I do play 2 copies of Gaia Force. It's just there to be a defensive matter. We still do have access to watching Metal Guru go off, and a lot of these cross decks do like to punch hard and fast for multi-attacks. So if I can cancel an attack as much as possible, I will. And this definitely helps with that. And this will definitely help in your matchups against the mirror match, as well as against decks like, especially like Afro mentioned, the Metal Garurumon deck, because you want to be able to just say bye and not watch them keep punching you, because they somehow are able to survive over your DP. And then the last card of the deck, we do only play 1 copy of Red Memory Boost. It's not that important to play more than 1. This deck actually is kind of hard to starve for memory because Blitz exists in this deck. But if you want, playing 1's good. I also thought about just saying no to the Death X and adding a second one of these. But it's up to you. This card is always going to be good in all colors, especially when there's enough setup that needs to be done. And with that being said, that's the deck list. Just for a quick version of understanding why GX and why I said GX and the boys are kind of nutty, I'm going to give a brief example with the pieces that matter, because this tower can actually be really messed up for people. And if it happens to you, I apologize ahead of time, because if it happened to you, you let it happen. You let the game go way too long. So for the deck, you are going to see the tower somewhat like this as the startup point. So you are going to see the Guri, the Huckmon as the good inheritable, the Bao Huck, the Savior, and then it's going to go into your Jesmon with Blitz. Then on that activation, you start having effects. It is advised you do the Gurimon first, because the Gurimon and the Huck should go first before any other upper effects, because if you do not, you're going to probably miss out on valuable card checks here. After that, go into your Jesmon's effect to play a sister. At this point, you're most likely going to want to just go ahead and drop the Sistermon seal. So you can go ahead, get his power and his security, and then use her to help trigger Evo. On that, you then have this Jesmon go into Jesmon X. X gets to do his shenanigans and all that wonderfulness to then trigger to give you a memory. And then he also will play a sister, which then goes ahead and lets you play another seal to this seal, going ahead to tell you to go into GX. GX will then allow you to duplicate an ability, so you would add Genku X inside the evolution source. And with that, now then Genku gets to go off, which then allows you to play another sister. Most likely you're playing you want to play this Blanc to get some more cards in hand. And you're still in middle of attack with all of this going off, because then you go back to activate the Savior, which allows you to play another sister, which at this point, you should just be going ahead to play the Blanc that gives blocker. And at that point, your board's kind of untouchable. All your sisters are 4,000 DP bigger, so if a Crimson Blaze will not kill your sisters. They can't be DP reduced because of thanks to Genku. And your GX is just literally punching for 5 all the way through at a 19, at higher than 19k, so he's not dying to anything major, and it's just there. The only way this board is excuse me, the only way this board is dying is because your opponent had a way to just tuck this under, which is why against yellow purple this deal, that's the only deck that really can do any kind of major threat to it. And outside of that, this deck is really strong. It is piece reliant, but it's not as bricky as it used to be, because now we have pieces for everywhere to pick up. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed the deck list. I really do enjoy playing this deck for both fun and being competitive with. If I would change one thing, I do wish that there was more space to play more of the Huckmons back in the rookie line, and we had like one other champion level that was a Royal Knight that we could pick from. But as it is right now, we're good. If you, like I said, if you want to add Chimera Mons to the deck, you can. You do run a lot of Sister Mon seals, and since it's a 4, you could use 2 of these seals to turn into a Chimera, do some wonders. But yeah, it's up to you at that point. The deck's kind of been solved and not solved at the same time. So once again, this has been Royal Mech. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.